All set to go for FIA Formula 2 and their qualifying session to get underway here in Budapest. It's the Hungarian Grand Prix here, and it is going to be a very exciting qualifying session. Expect a small delay to the start of this one after the Formula 3 took a little bit more time. The car's just getting into the pit lane, getting ready to be set up. Here's the world feed. Let's hand over to your commentary team for this session as well. Alongside myself and Jack, it's Alex Jakes and Alex Brundle.
Welcome back to Formula 2. This is round 9 of the championship. We're in Budapest in Hungary. It has been so intense. 13 winners, 18 different drivers on the podium. It is all set to be another thrilling chapter in what has turned into an engrossing year. Here's the track the drivers are taking on. 4.3 kilometers, 2.7 miles. We are setting the grid for both the sprint and the feature in this half-an-hour session. 14 turns and 35, very nearly, meters of elevation, all the way up to turn 5, just beyond the very fast left-hander of turn 4. And we take you immediately to live pictures, but not a lot of action on the track at this moment in time. I'm Alex Jakes. Joining us once again is Alex Brundle, who is reeling at the message that qualifying for his second session in a row will be delayed.
Well, that's what happens when you have sequential sessions, unfortunately. Delay the first, delay the second. And you're quite correct. There's not a lot of action on the track, but what there is on the track is a lot of temperature. 51 degrees. It was a huge factor a few moments ago in the Formula 3 qualifying session, and it's bound to be a huge factor in this Formula 2 qualifying session as we move over to the soft compound tyre. Drivers struggling earlier on today with the balance in free practice are no doubt going to be struggling again with the balance in qualifying. It is monumentally hot out there in terms of the track temperature, so it's going to be really interesting to see who is able to counteract and deal with that best. It's going to be the key decisive element, I believe, to this 30 minutes of qualifying.
Going to be really interesting to see who is able to deal well with the step from hard tyre of practice to soft tyre of qualifying. You can see they've got the red-walled soft tyre. We do have a super soft in Formula 2, so it's not the very softest in the range, but it is going to be a tyre that the teams will know from last year. They didn't run the hard tyre here last year. That is a problem for the race, but they do have data for this tyre around this track. Problem is, Alex, it's a new car for 2024.
Absolutely is. And this is one of the circuits that's the biggest jump between tyre compounds in terms of the mechanical grip. That's because of the amount you rely on the traction of the car, particularly when it's extremely hot towards the end of your flying lap in turns 13 and 14, particularly in a high-power single-seater, which these are, over 600 horsepower, delivered by Formula 2 V6 Mechachrome machinery. So it's really tough to try as the driver to estimate the change in the grip level that you're going to have on what is surely, with this amount of temperature in the air, a one-lap wonder qualifying session. 2 sets of the soft tyre available to the drivers. They're not going to be able to use any of the hard sets. They wouldn't be able to get anywhere near the pace anyway on them. So that's it. 2 bullets in the gun. Got to go for it. And it's going to be really tough. Super focus required here in tricky conditions, in physical conditions, to try to make sure you get all of the apexes nailed.
Earlier on in practice, it was encouraging times for Zane Maloney. He did a 1:32.668. He was ahead of Jack Crawford and Enzo Fittipaldi. Second in the points, Paul Aaron was 4th, ahead of 5th place Dennis Hauger. Our championship leader, Isaac Hadjar, took that championship lead last time out at Silverstone Circuit. He is 10th in the order. He was 0.8 of a second off the pace, but they were focusing in that practice session on race runs and looking after the hard tyre. Completely different exam question now. we've covered off the delay, just to cover off what you've seen at the top of your screen for a while now. We're going to get underway in about 90 seconds time. We'll get a green light at the end of the pit lane. Right, question for the driver. Would you prefer to go out there when the track is not at its very best, or would you prefer to run in the gap and run with everyone else? Do you want to go out of sequence? Do you want to stay with sequence because of the risk of traffic with it being a short lap?
I think here you go out of sequence. A lot of people ask me why all the cars charge out at the same time, and that is because so often the run plans of the drivers are engineering led. You put a certain amount of fuel in the car and then they try to run the car at the optimum time during the session when the track is at its theoretical best. The reality of trying to put a lap in around these circuits is so much different from that. I want to cast your mind back to Austria, where we saw drivers hustling around trying desperately to get a tow, but actually the lap time delivered in nice clear air at the front of the field, because the focus of the driver, the performance of the driver, is always the biggest variable inside a racing car. So try and get yourself a nice clean area of racetrack and deliver your lap. It doesn't matter necessarily if it's in the optimum conditions, because realistically in a session like this no one gets the perfect lap in.
So that is the ingredient list as we send our cars from the slow lane to the fast lane. We will get a green light at the end of the pit lane, and we will get underway for this qualifying session at the 9th round of the year. The track temperature is at 52 degrees, the air temperature up at 31.3 to be exact, as we traipse out of the pit lane, not very quickly, as everyone tries to build a gap for themselves.
We're being told direction of found a cloud, which is pretty hard to do over the far side of the circuit. It should be assisting slightly with the temperature out on the racetrack, but not a lot. It's the track temperature remains relatively stable as soon as you've got that sun load into it. They will still, though, have to build tyre temperature into the front axle. You don't get the balance of tyre temperature that you need just by cruising around to the line. They'll still have to do a little bit of work on it. The main factor, though, with these build laps is to find yourself a gap on the racetrack at a circuit like this and keep the rear tyre cool, because that's the limiting factor of lap time.
Out onto the circuit goes Gabriel Bortoletto, who is one of our 13 race winners so far this year. And we join the outlaps. This would usually be, we usually join you 2 minutes before and then get straight into the session. We've had a slight delay, but not that much, as F3 cleared the pit lane and we waited for the Formula 2 teams to enter the F1 pit lane with all of the equipment, and then the cars and the drivers have appeared. That is a reminder of the weather conditions that we've got out on the circuit. Really intense heat all the way through. It is with cloud cover, still a 53-degree track temperature.
Another factor throughout the day so far has been the wind. It's a tailwind down towards turn 11. We've seen mistakes and errors in there already, especially with the rear tyre giving up at that stage of the lap. So as drivers are turning in to turn 11 with the wind underneath the rear wing, it's creating oversteer, balance issues, and it's something, if they've been watching the previous sessions, these drivers all need to be ready for in that sector of the lap. Can compromise your exit in terms of track limits, can also compromise your exit in terms of a run down towards turn 12 on what is one of the longest straights of the lap.
This is exiting the pit lane. Here's Fittipaldi.
Yeah, unsafe release from them.
I mean, every week, right? So at this stage of qualifying, every week.
Yeah, it is true. The appeal goes up. A couple of warnings for a couple of reprimands, rather, for impeding earlier on that we saw out on the racetrack. But let's now hear from Bortoletto, who's been talking about this very session. He's been talking about his one-lap pace in qualifying.
It's a challenging track, I would say, for your quali lap to put that.
And there you go, all you need to know from Gabriel Bortoletto. Short and sweet and to the point. It is an extremely challenging track. It is one where the car is always animated. Talking of animated, let's see if we can hear the whole answer from Gabriel Bortoletto.
a challenging track, I would say, for your quali lap, to put everything together, to not do mistakes. So I would say the key is just to put the lap together and whatever you can do with the car and the pace you have yourself. So yeah, and yeah, it's a difficult track, but we have hards and softs this year. So I don't know what to expect about the degradation with the hards. But I would say Imola, for example, is more important qualifying than here. Here there is still some possibility to overtake and 2 DRS zones, so it's quite interesting.
Positive stuff from the man who was on pole in Imola earlier in the season.
Yeah, he's shown some decent qualifying form, knows all about how to get the best out of these cars, as he has his extremely strong, it must be said, rookie season behind the wheel of the Formula 2 car. 4th in the championship so far, has taken a win this year, coming off a double point finish back in Silverstone. Another man who had a strong weekend in Silverstone, missed out but for a penalty from victory. Jack Crawford starts what looks to be the first flying laps then. Behind the wheel of a Dams, critical laps for Crawford. Could be one of the 2 laps he gets at the limit during this session to set the grid order.
It really does focus the mind. It will focus these young drivers on the penultimate rung of the ladder to get up to Formula 1. That is the aim for all of them in the field when they start this season. Oliver Behrman has already achieved that largely off the back of his brilliant rookie season where he was 4 times a race winner. Crawford has been a contender in recent times. The 19-year-old from the US is making his way through the second sector.
Car absolutely glued to the road under traction as he takes everything out of this set of super soft tyres. His first sector has been ousted by free practice fastest man Zane Maloney, going purple in sector 2 though, of course. Crawford, the first driver really to have a go at the racetrack here, and it's looking very plugged in indeed for the Dams driver.
First lap times then, coming on the board. Let's see what we've got. There's a lot of traffic in front of Crawford though, coming into the last corner, so he's going to be a little bit down on the time. First times then, here in qualifying for F2 in Hungary. Crawford cross the line, 131.921. That's your first time. Zane Maloney looks fast, comes up towards the control line, and waiting out of the last corner. You can see the lime green and fastest, 130.515, so 0.4 of a second to Juan Manuel Correa, who has gone into second position. Behrman's third, Maeta fourth. Victor Martins improving from where he was this morning, jumps up into second position, and this is Zane Maloney through turns 10 and 11. Did he have a twitch after 11? Gets in the exit curb. Yes, he did. And I suppose, Jack, just like we saw in Formula 3 a few moments ago, everyone's having a difficult entry, but it's such a smooth exit. It doesn't matter about losing time.
Yeah, that's. Plus, I think they're also struggling for grip a little bit. Due to, I mean, the Formula 3 guys were struggling to get. Well, not that they were struggling to get up to temperature. They were overheating. And that's probably what's going to happen to the F2 guys as well.
Track temperatures at 53 degrees, air temperature 31.2 at the moment. It's 28 degrees where I am right now commentating. The commentary box, I can tell you, has risen now. Guess any ideas? Yeah, it's now hit the magic 50. 50 degrees in this commentary box right now with all the heat that's bellowing off the computers and the monitors and the brickwork and the soundproofing. It's like we're being inside an oven. Bortoletto's on top there, 130.269 as well. And if you turn me over, I'll be done at the end of the session. Here comes Hadjar across the line. Goes up into 5th, 137.06. Maney's down in 13th position at the moment. He's still got some more time to find and will have some. Here comes Kimi Antonelli out of turn 11 down to turn 12 on the circuit. Now he's got a personal best sectors 1 and 2 with Bortoletto's time to beat, but soft tired. I think they might go better on the mediums, Jack, with the conditions. They won't degrade as fast.
Yeah, but see what kind of laps everyone's. We've got Kimi Antonelli about to set his initial lap time. Of course, Kimi Antonelli, 16 to 17 years old, he's younger than me. That's quite scary actually. Just goes up into 16th for Prema. Maybe as we saw last time out at the British round, Kimi Antonelli was able to grab his first victory in dominating fashion. Maybe he can finally get his season off track, or on track, I should say.
16th in that lap time though, and puts him down. They're the first lap times. Now, like we saw in Formula 3, expect a 3-run qualifying simulation from everybody out here. So they'll do 1 lap, come back in, get some new tyres, go again. They'll throw everything at it because the conditions are so hot here. So they come through. Yep, just having a look at the deltas. Bortoleto, he's fastest. From Maloney, Martins, Colapinto, Hadjar, Vachor, Hauger, Durskin, Arong, Correa, the top 10 as it stands. Crawford to second off. Expect cars now to start diving into the pit lane. You can see they're already going off. If they feel they can get another run on these tyres, they will go for it. But usually the drivers will have a plan. Looks like most of them are going to do 2 runs here, Jack, compared to the one that we saw in Formula 3. So F2's tyres slightly more competitive.
Yeah, just slightly. But it's there goes Jack Crawford actually.
21st.
He improves, just not in position. He stays 21st. A weirdly bad run for Crawford, who I think will actually have quite a good season personally.
Yeah, Crawford down in 21st position for Jack, so he's got to improve in that dams at the moment. So he'll find some time later. Here we see Joshua Durskin now, who surprised everybody with a front row start at the British Grand Prix last time out as well. He's definitely picked up some pace in that AIX and the whole car. And even in Austria, it's just getting faster and faster across all classes. So they are definitely ones to be contended with at the moment. 7/10 down on Bortoleto's time, but that will put him in around about 10th position, but he is in 8th, so you can already see the tyres starting to wear off. At one point, do you say, let's box for some fresh rubber? We're only 11 minutes into this session, though. 30 on the clock, and doesn't seem long, but it is so hot. The humidity is going to be driving them all crazy. Dirt's going to cross the line, doesn't improve. Yellow flag has come out. I don't know what sector it's in, as we ride with Fittipaldi. It's sectors 2 and 3, so that's down again, I bet, at turn 11. That has got to be at turn 11. Who's put it in the wall? No sign of a red flag. Fittipaldi goes into 8th, 130.9. Paul Aron's into the last corner. Red flag's coming out, but will Aron complete his lap time? That's the question for it does. Cross the line, Aron goes 7th, and there's the red flag to end the session early, 10 minutes in. So, and that is Jose Maria Marti, just like this morning, off at the top of turn 11, and he has stopped. He can't believe what he's done, and that is him out of the session.
Oh, no, not again. Oh.
It looks to be exactly the same as this morning, Jack. He spun it at turn 11, but he hasn't hit the wall. The car's just stalled on spin.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought he stalled it. There's no damage, which is the big positive here. There's no damage. Team doesn't have to repair the car for tomorrow. But it's just unfortunate, and I'm pretty certain, correct me if I'm wrong here, but under F2 rules, if you cause a red flag, I don't think you can resume the session.
That's true, and you also lose your fastest lap time. Yeah, you also lose your fastest lap time, so that's him starting from the back of the grid.
Oh, is that a new thing this year?
Yep, new rule this year.
Oh dear.
That's why in the previous session, Luke Browning's in trouble in Formula 3 because he calls the red flag and he'll lose his best lap time as well. So, yeah. This is not great as they try and restart Marty, but he'll play no further part in this session and he'll have his fastest lap time deleted. Right, back to the world feed as we redo this. In fact, let's see how he did it first of all, Marty. I think he's just going to spin on the curb. Look, he's already out of shape coming out of 10. Let's see, into 11. Rear snaps, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Easy to do. Very easily done.
And stalled it.
Drive it out. So one of the F3 guys did that earlier, didn't they?
Yeah.
Was it? I can't remember who it was.
Browning hit the wall. Marty went straight on there this morning. But yeah, we've seen a couple of them get caught out. Sophia Flörsch, that was it. She did it earlier on in Formula 3.
Yes, Sophia Flörsch, that's who it was.
So red flag's out. Let's head back to the world feed.
5th in Formula 3 last year. Multiple race winner as well. 3 different occasions he took the checkered flag. But this is a tough day. It is a junior motor racing championship. It is a feeder series. They are expected to make mistakes on their way up to Formula 1, but it's a tough Friday for him.
Yeah, it really is. And that just making a mistake in the same place will be really frustrating him. But we've seen drivers off in there all day long
Yeah.
with that final direction change for Pepe Marti. So it will give him another new set of soft tyres to take through into the feature race on the Plus, which can be a factor here, given the amount of tyre degradation that we're seeing. Obviously, that will not be ideal for him. Hard compounds then going on the car. And the reason for that, for Maloney, will not be to set a qualifying effort. He'll be trying to roll those in and put himself back on fuel for the end of the session. They do that to take the mold, what they call the mold release, that shiny surface off the top of them, which doesn't deliver a lot of grip early on, and also to stop the tyre temperature peaking at the beginning of their race running, when they'll use those tyres again later on in the weekend. So that'll be the aim. They can do two things concurrently, which is make sure they don't have too much fuel in the car for the final run, and also sort those tyres out.
Yeah, good thinking across the board with that. They're going to have a little bit longer with this qualifying session to what they would be used to. We're going to get the restart in under a minute's time, but this is why we had the red flag. Another spin at turn 11 for Pepe Marti.
Such is the steering effort that to catch the car at high speed and then point it back where you need to go, just not within the control of the driver once you've had a big moment like that. They just don't have the torque control over the steering wheel to be able to just shove it back onto the racetrack once you've had a big moment.
The red flag flying, and the session will resume 5 minutes after it was originally flown around this historic racetrack, which has had the second tier race here for all but one season. We had a season where Formula 3 and Formula 2 alternated different rounds, and apart from that year, ever present in the second tier, no matter what it's been called. Certainly since we crossed the year 2000, there's always been Formula 2 here, apart from that one season. So we're going once again, and green light at the end of the pit lane. Paul Aaron improving on that second run as the high-tech driver taking on fluids. It's incredibly warm out there, even if we do have a little bit of cloud cover.
You can see the temperature that they're working with. That is from 2 flying laps, that amount of exertion sitting in the car. So obviously they sit in the car between the runs as well. The temperature builds even inside an open cockpit single-seater car, but that's the feel for the amount of exertion that they're going to be suffering. And even over a feature race distance, it's going to be incredibly intense for these drivers at a similar track temperature all weekend.
Let's hear from the driver you're looking at. Paul Aaron's been talking to us about qualifying.
I think it will be key to get the tires in the right window for the lap. Probably it will be one lap because it's so hot, but I think there will be a trade-off of starting the lap with tires ready and then losing the tires end of the lap, or starting the lap with tires not fully there but having them end of lap. So it will be interesting to see whichever strategy different teams opt for, and then I think this qualifying is just about doing your own job.
So just trying to focus on himself after having his first non-scoring round of his rookie season in Formula 2.
Yeah, interesting to hear him talk about the tyre preparation there. And we've seen both ends of that spectrum throughout this qualifying session so far. The drivers getting that lock-up down towards turn 1, indicative of not having the tyre ready. And then the drivers oversteering and sliding the car through the outside of the final turn. And then that's indicative of having them ready at the beginning, but not sorted at the end. Zane Maloney doing as we described a few moments ago, out in just to take the surface off those tyres and put him back where he needs to be in terms of fuel usage.
Yeah, just taking the shine off it for the compound, as you said, Alex. And
that's our job, isn't it?
yes. And outlaps now for many in the field, and there you can see the difference between a new set and a one-lap old set. There's the comparison as well. There's the shine on the surface of the tyre. Then he goes out, that'll disappear pretty quickly on the soft, as a driver that led the championship for a number of rounds before Paul Aaron hit the front, and then he has been replaced by Isaac Hadjar at the top of the points total. Finds himself ready and awaiting the command to get back out there.
Nice opportunity there for the team at Rodin to do a practice pit stop in situ there as well, which they only get a limited period of time. You forget how limited their period of time in the F1 pit lane is, and to be able to have that opportunity to have the car turn up running do a full practice pit stop and then send it, even if for a few meters, is critical for these teams. It could be pivotal for their race weekend.
Out there quite early. This is interesting from Gabriel Bortoleto. He is on the soft tyre, so he's not thinking about race prep. He's going very early. Track's going to be at its best at the end, most rubbered in. That is always the rule, and he's out there very early on the Brazilian driver.
I wonder if this is the same set as Hadjar's been wide.
Yes, he has. The sole remaining Campos in the session off the road at turn 11 as well.
Looks like he's sending it straight out the pits there, Bortoleto, and I wonder if that's to put him on fuel as well, just to give him more of a feel for the racetrack on the same set of soft tyres, not intending necessarily to improve tremendously. He's just done a 30.8 across the line, which is rather impressive, actually, considering the tyre mileage, but just to get them back on fuel and give the driver another sighting lap on the circuit. So that's the similar thing to what Maloney was doing, but they're choosing not to condition the hard tyre.
It can differ from team to team in the championship. This is the man on top of the pile as it stands, going into this 9th round of the championship. And this is another moment for a Campos driver at turn 11.
Yeah, I think it's making his teammate feel better, isn't he, on the outside of turn 11. But quite clearly they are really tricky to drive through the mid-corner of 11 on that final change of direction. Bortoleto continues on. The driver who has now completed 6 laps of the circuit. You're not allowed to refuel. You're also not allowed to drain fuel. They don't have the apparatus to do it in the pit lane. So the only way you can reduce fuel from your Formula 2 car is by going out and doing laps of the track, and that's what he's choosing to do now.
Yeah, essentially we have 4 minutes extra on the clock because of the time that we had the red flag out. They would have already been back in the pits waiting for this, so they've got more time to play with than they would normally have in an F2 quali session.
Where he's got a problem there is if he goes and flat spots his final set of softs, which he'll have to use, of course, in the feature race, meaning that he's then gone and put a couple of extra laps on the set of softs that need to arrive during the feature race and the other set he can't use. So there is a risk reward to doing that.
There's his teammate down in 14th position. And those two putting on a real show back at Silverstone. This brand new Dallara-built car, new for 2024. And having gone off the road, a few alterations being made to the championship leader's car. Isaac Hadjar, part of the Red Bull Academy, as you might have guessed from the livery.
Yeah, it looks like it might be a little bit of a rear roll bar change for Isaac Hadjar. Often the change for hot conditions, just to add a little bit more compliance to the rear of the car, allow it to roll and settle.
Okay, let's hear from our championship leader. He's been talking to us about the challenge over 1 lap.
You look at the heat, it's going to be probably a 1 lap tire. So this we don't know yet till we go on track, but ideally you want to go and deliver on that first push lap. And also traffic is going to be a topic because it's a really slow sector 3. There's going to be some queuing. We're quite at the back of the queue, so this is going to take. We're going to have to take this into account and deliver the best warm-up possible, and then you've done pretty much some part of the job.
Well, he's very intense in the car, but he's very chilled out of the car, Isaac Hadjar, and has the confidence. This is his 2nd season in the championship. And that's not ideal, surely, at the back of the high-tech.
I think they're just taking some paint with them, are they not, from the pit lane? Unless that looks to be fabric of some description, doesn't it? On the picked up on the tyre. Well, I hope they managed to wear it off down at high-tech for Paul Aaron. Oh, it is. It's advertising hoarding, I think, from the actual
painted
pit lane.
That's how hot it is down in the pit lane.
Yeah.
Our replay team will be looking for that. You still see a bit of a mark on a tyre, but yeah, I think you're right. That is the painted. Hearing it's tape from the pit stop markings from the gallery. They, of course, each team mark out their own pit box, and so he appears to have caught some of that. Let's see if we can bring that to you. Unusual look. It's freed itself from the tyre, and Look, I know we're giving this a slightly longer build-up because we've got no choice due to the red flag, but it will be worth it. Whoever is able to take pole here, it's going to be a very satisfying moment. More fuel correction going on. Back to the pits we come with Dennis Hauger.
Yeah, Hauger in and out of the pit lane. Drivers also use the pit lane sometimes as a known drop back in terms of the amount of time that they want to drop back through the field, but that wouldn't be what Hauger's doing because he had a lovely gap in front of him. So deciding to go in and out of the pit lane could easily be that. Yeah, it is. It's that pit lane marking, isn't it? That he's ripped up and taken with him. bit of double-sided sticky tape for extra traction through the left-handers maybe. Soon discarded.
Someone with a job before FP2, the Formula One team garages. Of course, using the Formula One pit lane, as here comes absolutely everyone. Glued together, warming brakes, warming tyres. Remember, trying to get the compound into the working window and fight for your own piece of racetrack. And a reminder that we're setting the grid for both races here. If you fall outside the top 10, that is where you start both races. We reverse the top 10 to set our grid for the sprint.
Yeah, the problem is you wait ages for a Formula 2 car and then 5 come at once.
Enzo's blocking everyone.
Maloney talking about Enzo Fittipaldi, who's just up the road here, ceded the gap then to the Dams car ahead, and now it's all about trying to keep the tyre warm and not back off too much through these final few corners while you keep the rear tyre cool. All about temperature in the front tyre. Don't deliver traction through that rear tyre, and Fittipaldi fancies a clear road ahead of him.
He does indeed. Juan Manuel Correa thinking about trying to leap ahead, but now when you get to the penultimate corner of the racetrack, it's time to start thinking about your lap and about the space that you will need in front of you. And Fittipaldi got his elbows out to get this track position. It's over to the young Brazilian driver, then opens the DRS, goes attacking. One of the shorter laps of the year, one where the driver is constantly at work once we get to turn number 1.
It's been a good weekend so far for Fittipaldi. Squared the car off and delivered all of that lovely traction through the exit of turn 14 to get the best run down to turn 1. DRS open again as he heads down towards 2. Got to connect with the apex of that long radius left-hander. Give yourself a little bit of space through the mid-corner of 3. The more power you've got, the more space you need through the exit as you arc up the hill to the highest point of the circuit, turn 4 and turn 5. Fittipaldi slightly down from the best time of Bortoletto so far, but it's recoverable where all the corners are in the middle sector. 6 and 7 is a lumpy, bumpy chicane. Got to make sure you don't run out of road, even though you're given a little bit of extra on the outside of 7. 8 and 9, a switchback. You manage the throttle with incredible delicacy, then climb all over the exit curve of 9. 11, main danger point of the lap, and lean, but don't climb on the outside curb. It's a big braking zone. Down towards turn 12, arc the car in, and really look after that rear tyre. Why? Because you need to ask it a favour through the exit of turn 13 and then again through the exit of turn 14 to do what rear tyres hate to do. Turn and go at the same time, and go he does across the line in the Van Amersfoort racing car. 9th for Fittipaldi, becomes provisional pole position.
The driver has never been on pole in Formula 2. His best grid spot was 2nd place. He gives himself a chance with that improvement. Crawford finds himself continuing on. No improvement for him. Maloney does a personal best, but it keeps him in 3rd. What an improvement from Fittipaldi after choosing that track position, after being really aggressive to maintain going first on these runs. Antonelli moves to P3. Victor Martin's going well as well. So is Aaron, fastest of anyone in the middle sector. He's 2nd in the points battle for the championship title. The championship leader is purple, fastest of anyone so far through sector number 1. Hauger goes to P3 as Martin goes to the line.
Martin's coming across the line, only up to 2nd. It will be Paul Aaron, though, who goes to provisional pole.
Aaron, Fittipaldi, then Martins and Bortoletto. Is there a response from Hadjar? Or has Aaron found a time to give himself a great chance of responding after a non-score at Silverstone? His first non-scoring round of the year so far.
He's definitely going to try, isn't he? Into the last corner. What can Isaac Hadjar do? Ron's time to beat is a 1:30.028. Hadjar only goes into third place. So that's the second run's done then. As Bortoletto moves to fourth. Paul Aron onto provisional pole. From Fittipaldi, Hadjar, Bortoletto, Victor Martin's fifth. I think, Jack, that was attempt 1. And now we're going to see attempt 2 in the next few minutes. That's going to be properly fast. But still, drivers making mistakes out there.
These are the young guns, one's the future. They're gonna make mistakes every now and then. You can see Colapinto almost losing it here, but yeah, these are the guys. This is where you can make mistakes to an extent. And these guys are looking almost for a way in Formula 1. At the end of the day, I expect these guys to make mistakes. This is where you almost like they iron out the mistakes, this series, if I'm honest with you. That's how I've always seen it.
Gravel added to the exit of turn 11. That's going to give them a bit more limited. Behrman trying to get out of the way of everyone, puts his own tyres on the grass. That's a bit of a lapse in judgment there from the 2025 Haas F1 driver. As they all now, it's a very tight circuit. Qualifying here for Formula 1 is going to be interesting. It is Monaco without the barriers. Many people suggested that we should just separate like we do in Monaco, just how close the track is, but certainly at the moment it's giving us an entertaining session. 4 minutes to go, we're on another build lap, and we're watching Jack Crawford down the board. We'll be back with 2 minutes to go in the session. Back to the world feed.
The lap here.
That is the driver who crossed the line of the feature race at Silverstone first. Got a 5-second penalty for an unsafe release. He's the winner, and a really strong winner in Spain as well. He's currently last, having gone out very early on. Found some traffic at the end of run number 1, forced to go for run number 2. Crawford is not finding an improvement through the first sector of the lap.
He's had a lap deleted, track limits in turn 11, and still not managing to improve, and it's off in turn 11 again for Crawford.
That tricky corner that has caught out so many today means that Crawford is staring at starting both races from the very back of the grid.
Disaster then. Crawford, as you say, Alex, driver crossing the line in race leading positions in recent times. A big shimmy then through the mid corner of turn 11. He just has to commit to that runoff area. We'll have dirt all over the tyres, and it'll be a factor as to how much performance they have for the rest of the session, even if he is able to go again. O'Sullivan equally not improving in the first sector behind the wheel of the ART. Sits only 15th, has managed to step forward though in the middle.
So all about the top 10 now, all about the top 10. Aaron and Fittipaldi have had their battle. Hadjar is back in the pits. Fittipaldi has done the same thing. He's taken the best he believes from those tyres. It's now, can you get yourself into the top 10? Can you get the benefit of the reverse grid to try and save your weekend? If you're Zach O'Sullivan over the line, and it's only 15th position for our winner of the feature race in Monaco. Winner of the sprint race in Monaco, Taylor Barnard, but he's only 16th. And what is Aaron doing with those tyres in the middle sector? He's the one finding even more time. He's gone fastest of anyone so far. He's already on provisional pole. Aaron can't improve, but he's getting pace out of those soft tyres that others cannot reproduce. On both laps, really strong pace, and Aaron underlines that he has been the best out there on the Red Bull soft.
It's a 10th down for Gabriel Bortoletto, but that is a warning shot from Paul Aaron, who finds a better lap. Bortoletto commits to the pit lane. His session is done. He's not going to be able to improve. Incident involving Colapinto and Aaron has been noted for impeding. That's the driver who sits on provisional pole, and Colapinto, who sits 12th in the session at the moment.
Also missing out, Oliver Behrman in 14th as it stands. Again, coming from FP1 in Formula 1, which is where he's bound for next year, into a Formula 2 practice session, and he finds himself in 14th. His teammate Kimi Antonelli in 7th place. And a slightly disjointed one, because the one thing we love about Formula 2 is the last over-the-line feeling that qualifying gives us. But he was quick on push run number 1. He was quick on push run number 2. Paul Aaron taking a second pole position in FIA Formula 2. He took pole in Spain, he's taken pole in Hungary, and he looks great on one of the 2 tyres he'll have to use for the feature race. A feature race, he will start from the front of the field.
Outstanding lap, and it seems to have the longevity as well, but there's a long way to go around a very, very tricky, very hot racetrack in both races this weekend.
So
I believe that is a pole position for you, mate. Well done.
Thank you, guys. At least we made this heat worth it, you know? That was a nice quali, I have to say. I really enjoyed this one.
No further investigation, Alex, between Colapinto and Aaron for impeding, so that one resolved nice and quickly.
That'll be music to both of their ears. A studious pole, I think, in terms of getting the car in the right place at the right time and then delivering the lap beautifully. And they were really nice laps, especially through that middle sector where it matters, hanging on to it through those final 2 corners to get the car to the line. Lovely stuff from Aaron. Ousts Fittipaldi by hundredths of a second. Then there's a little gap back to Hadjar, a couple of tenths of a second, and then back to Bortoletto. So a strong performance and putting himself well clear of his championship rival Hadjar at that stage. We've got a pair of barnstorming races potentially to go.
We've still got one driver attacking the racetrack. Villa Gomez in the second VAR. Van Amersfoort Racing going to start on the front row with Fittipaldi. And Villa Gomez trying to find a lap time that's good enough at the very end here. If he can continue that margin, he's going to be flirting with the top 10. So can Villa Gomez extract things at the end here, running out of sequence compared to everyone else? It's been a session, really, that has been spread out across the full half an hour.
Yeah, it really has. See if Villa Gomez is going to improve then. He's 19th at the moment, up towards the line with the checker flag out, and gets himself up to 16th place. Decent improvement there. Barnard coming through, and Villa and Richard Verschoor as well, so let's watch out for these two. Verschoor's improving, but he's a second down the middle sector, so unlikely he's going to... No, he's half, so Verschoor's out of it. Barnard just completes a lap time. 17th, across the line, stays 17th. Paul Aron takes pole position for the feature race on Sunday. Richard Verschoor will have reverse grid pole position for the sprint race on Saturday. And I think, Jack, as well, that was quite an entertaining session, to be fair.
Yep, very entertaining. I've literally just had to turn my fan on because it's getting too hot in here. Yeah, Paul Aron, the man with no academy backing, is pretty much one of the top, maybe the top driver of the season. He's been absolutely superb since getting dropped from Mercedes Academy. He's been showing why Mercedes were wrong to drop him, and he will take pole for the feature race. Enzo Fittipaldi, of course, alongside. Should be an exciting 2 races to go this weekend.
So you can join us tomorrow for the support action as well. Paul Aron has pole position here. Next up, it is Formula 1 and their second practice session. We'll be back shortly. Take care. Bye-bye.